You're good.
Yeah. So, I mean, these chats, as I'm sure you're familiar, they're really light and informal and just a way for the community to get to know you better.
Yes.
And, so sharing your story, your offerings, what you really do, why you do it. And so just so that people can get a sense of who you are, your energy, and if they vibrate with you, which could perhaps be a good indication, for working together and whatnot. So, um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I,
So with that, I would love to just kind of ask you to share about your anywhere you want to start, but how your awakening and healing journey has progressed and led you to this moment now.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so, my business, the Healing Fawn, it really stands on kind of this concept that all of the issues or barriers that we have today as adults are in some way connected to our childhood experiences. Hence where the inner child work part comes in. But I'm going to share a little bit about the how somatics and understanding the body really came into play. I had a lot of trauma as a child, as many of us do. But uh, I was an intellectualizer of my trauma. So I was able to talk about it. I went to talk therapy for most of my, teenage years, adult years. And so I thought I was good. I thought, well, I can talk about it. I even got like, I don't want to say kicked out of therapy, but like therapists would be like, why are you here? Like, you know everything, you're good. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. But the patterns and the choices in my life were unhealthy, and they led me to a place where I was married to someone who, isn't a bad person, but I never would have, if I had done any work, I never would have ended up in that relationship, let alone a marriage. And so it ended. And what I, at that point, when I was like, how did this happen? Like, I thought I had everything lined up. Like, how did this all happen? And at the time, the person I was working with kind of helped me make the connection between my childhood and my kind of role reversal that I have with my mom. Like, I was more of the parent and she was more of the kid. And this kind of, your needs don't really matter that much. Like, you're always taking care of somebody else, and their needs and tending to them and appeasing them are what is important. And you're kind of just like there, and that's your purpose. So I felt like that was really huge. And she kind of gave me the advice that you need to, if you want to see change in your life, you're going to have to cut it at the cord, like with your mom. Like, you have to stop this role that you've been in. And that was really the most pivotal point, because I had no idea that dynamic was as unhealthy as it was. Like, I knew it wasn't normal. I knew that my upbringing wasn't normal. I knew I didn't fit in, but I didn't realize how destructive it was to my adult life, and how subconsciously it led me to where it led me. So the other thing I'll mention is both my parents had history of addiction. So what happens more with addiction, I feel, is that like, your needs don't matter, or like, tending to someone else is kind of the theme that people may go towards, because it's not that they're bad people or bad parents that are awful and putting you down and criticizing you. It's like, they're just not around.
Yeah.
It's more like neglect type stuff. Like, they're just not available for you in any way, shape, or form. And you're being exposed to a lot of scary things for a kid. So I so that's really where it started. That was kind of like the pivotal point. And then I realized like I needed to really go back into my childhood to heal, and work through some of those things. And at that time, child work, childhood reparenting, none of that was even close to mainstream. Like it was hard to even find information.
Yeah.
I did find someone who did a little bit of that work in Colorado, so I would Zoom with her, but she was very new to it as well. So I started just reading a lot of books, and then it led me more to understanding the somatic part, that like, oh, I can think about all this stuff and I can talk about it, but I haven't felt anything in like a really long time. And to feel through some of those things, although seemed unbearable, I knew that's what I needed. So that's why I went back to school for somatic therapy. I'm a nurse, so that's like that was my job, and I'm still a nurse. But I went back to school honestly with the intention of just understanding myself, like to figure, like to understand this whole concept, because it was fascinating to me that I never even heard of it. And through that program, I realized, wow, there are so many people that need this. So like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to do something with it, you know? And, and so that's kind of where it started.
Yeah. I, you know, the reason I start with this question, Serena, is because everybody has such incredible, quote unquote, origin stories about how they've come into this beautiful work that they now do. And it always tends that the focus of the journey is always through some type of hardship or adversity or challenge,
Yeah.
that at the time perhaps was experienced as negative or unpreferable, and then, you know, subsequently was realized as, you know, the meat of transformation that led to this beautiful metamorphosis.
Yes.
And yeah, so I really appreciate your vulnerability, your candor, and thank you for sharing about, you know, how you blossomed into this now wonderful holistic healer that has been able to turn your pain into purpose.
Yeah.
So, you know, with that, can you talk to us a bit about what exactly it is you do in terms of, you know, can you tell us a bit also like what somatic therapy is, what somatic means,
Mm-hmm.
and because I still think that's actually not something mainstream,
It
right? Where
isn't.
people understand
It
what we're
isn't.
doing.
No, it's not. And I think we're getting there, you know, but it's really not. There's still probably like 85% of conversations I have, they're like, never heard of it before. I'm like, all right, well, um, but somatic therapy, somatic healing, somatic breath work, somatic movement, it is a word in our world, in you and I's world, that we hear. And soma is really means of the body. It's from in a Greek word of soma, meaning of the body, in the body. And the best and easiest way that I would explain it is that, you know, we know that we need to take a drink of water because we're thirsty and we can sense that thirst, or we're hungry and our stomach's gurgling, or, you know, we have, I don't know, belly ache and we can sense that ache. Or when we're nervous and we say like our stomach's tied in knots. Or when we're embarrassed, we feel like redness on our cheeks. These are all somatic sensations. And when we are in any situation, the sensation of our body is first, but we're not used to listening to it. So it then goes to thought, and thought is just based off of all of our past experiences. Thought has nothing to do with the future, but we bypass this sensation, because one, we're not used to listening to it. Two, it's uncomfortable. uncomfortable, and we want to just push it away, or we feel it, this maybe a panic sensation, and we react and lash out because it's so uncomfortable, and it's a trigger. It's essentially a memory or an unprocessed emotion that we're feeling.
Right.
So we all have somatic sense. We're just not used to listening to it. So a big part of working with me first is kind of just quieting the mind so we can start to listen to the body. And then as we get, as we're able to be still and be able to listen a little bit, we can work with that sensation that we're feeling. So someone could come to me and we could, get into a light meditative state and like, what are you feeling, related to this situation, or just in general. Right now, I have a tightness in my throat. I'm noticing this feels like I'm being choked or whatever. And is it okay if we just stay with that for just a minute or two? And then we can work with it in various ways, but it's telling a story. It moves, it grows, it melts, it shifts. And based on like the inquiry of me, the things I'm asking, a lot of information is revealed. The body has all the answers. The body keeps the score. We just need to be able to listen to it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important, particularly in today's times when the mind activity is so busy and it's becoming more ADHD, more busy, more distracted, more stochastic, so that we can't actually pay attention.
Right.
We completely pass over what we're feeling and what the body's trying to tell us, and already are on to the next thing. And that's part of that survival mode, right?
Yeah.
That we're conditioned into here, that we're unlearning or unconditioning through these methods. Okay, so that's what somatic work is, somatic therapy, in terms of the high level essence of it.
The high level overview. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, like the survival mechanisms, it's really important to touch on that, because all of our reactions to anything that's unpleasant, or anything that we're afraid of, or anything, our nervous systems, our bodies are wired in that survival response until we do this kind of work. So working with me in the beginning, we look at like your common go-to defenses. Are you more in fight? Are you more in flight? Are you more freeze? Do you more fawning or people pleasing? And even just looking at the awareness, people have no idea that these are survival mechanisms or defense mechanisms. They just think it's like their personality, or like I did, I thought that fawning helper people pleaser was like, that's just who I am, but it really isn't. So I think bringing education to understand like these are survival mechanisms, these are defense mechanisms, which ones do you feel you use more, and then we can kind of just get that awareness too, so they start to think, oh, is this a mechanism, or is this really me? And then we start to just make space for that. Maybe this isn't me, maybe this is something else.
Yeah. And that's why I would imagine so much part of your work tied to somatics is nervous system regulation, right? And being able to come into that type of inner stillness, so you can actually get into navigating this inner child landscape.
Yes. Exactly. That's why we start with that first, and then we weave in the inner child piece.
So let's talk about like the different things you actually offer in terms of your different services, and how you package them in terms of structure a bit. Is it single session, 1 month, 3 month, 1 year? How do you kind of frame all this?
So what we've talked about, the nervous system, the somatic therapy, and the inner child work, I've kind of combined all of them into my program. Great. Like, so the workbook that I have, it's everything's like sectioned out, and it's like we start with denial and awareness, nervous system regulation. We go all the way through till like the end when we're doing like reparenting, like memory work with the inner child or inner teen. So all of that is kind of combined together. I do offer, if someone's like, no, I don't want to work with like my childhood, I just want to work with my body, I just want to regulate my nervous system, I do offer just those sessions. But in general, my kind of package is inner child work, somatic therapy. And I recommend at least 6 sessions. People can absolutely do one session, see how they like it, then, add on. But I do offer packages, and 6 is the minimum. And I really recommend like 3 months, which is 12 sessions. So one session a week for 3 months.
Got it.
And I think that really covers, that's really a nice place to land after 12 sessions, to have kind of tools, to have worked through a lot of the defenses, working with the nervous system, getting connected, starting to connect with the inner child, starting to do a little bit of memory work. But I'm also big on people taking breaks, like that it's not this ongoing work that, I'm going to sign up to work with her and this is going to be like a 2-year thing. I really think healing is, these ebbs and flows of doing some work and then like exploring this new version of you, and rest, and getting out there and using the new knowledge and doing life, and not really bombarding people with like ongoing work. Because as much as, my belief is we're always going to be on this journey, we're always healing, and it's a lifestyle. So there's no rush to get it all done. And things will come up. Even when you feel like you're good, something else will come up that triggers you, and you'll kind of be like, oh, I'm back here again. That's okay. And then, we pick up and we do some more work. But I'm really big on, like, I'll tell people, I think we're like, let's take the summer off, or let's, go enjoy your life, like go use these new things. So that's one thing that I think is different with me, is that I really encourage people to take breaks in their work.
Lovely. Lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so important. And I've found too in my own experience, and the deeper I've dived, the more this becomes intuitively true about the necessity of rest, and being able, and how productive rest actually is in terms of being able to actually do this work and go on this journey, because we have these integration phases, right? And that's where you're actually embodying the new insights that you've learned, and being able to then kind of like settle into that new version of you before having another like software update.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Before another layer of shedding. So I really appreciate that approach. It's nice touch.
Yeah. And I think it's integrative too with that rest. You know what I mean? Like if you're just constantly in session and then doing work, where you're integrating in between sessions, but you're really just focused on the next mountain you're going to climb. And so I think that integration also happens in these periods where, you have tools, like let's go use them and see how you do and experience like life. So I think that I really do think that's important in general, not with just working with me, with any type of work, that we give ourselves those breaks.
Yeah. And what would you say, if you had to describe yourself in this way, but what differentiates you in your mind compared to other practitioners serving in this, say, to your modality, or the various niches that you kind of speak to, whether it's the inner child work, somatic therapy, etc.?
I think one of the things that is different is that I combine all those therapeutic modalities into one. so that you're getting kind of everything. I haven't come across anyone that does it the way that I do, with kind of giving all of those pieces into one session, into one package. Um, and also I think with like the step-by-step process, I see, more like, you're kind of in a lot of somatic arenas, it's like just working with what shows up today. That's like, what are you feeling today? And certainly that is great, but I have more of like a process that helped me. That's the thing. Like, this is what like really helped me, and the things that I needed at that time when I was it was kind of like a dark night of the soul. Honestly, it was like I was in a really dark place. All the childhood memories were flooding in. And I know what I needed, and it wasn't available. So that's kind of where my process was formed. It wasn't just like something that I came up with. It's like, this is what I really would have needed. And so I think that's maybe what's a little bit different about working with me.
Yeah. I love asking that question because I think you kind of just hit it on the head, which is that you've been through your own unique journey, and no one has gone through it as similar to, the same exact extent as you.
Right.
And that makes your energy unique. That
Yeah.
energy emanation is unique to you. Like a
Mm-hmm.
snowflake, we're all of snow, but each snowflake is unique in its customization, and that's your unique vibration, and what allows you to serve those who resonate best with you the most. I think it's so beautiful, that type of matchmaking process.
Yeah.
And it's a measure, an indication of true compatibility,
Yeah.
so
I
you,
totally
you
agree.
are, there's only one Serena, and I don't know if this is it, but Flacchini.
Franchini. Yeah.
Franchini.
In Italy, they'll say Franchini,
Oh,
but here
okay.
it's Franchini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so you have your own exactly unique offering in that sense, which I
Yeah.
think is beautiful.
Thank you.
And yeah, that ability to customize and kind of blend modalities together that complement one another in a session is also points to the artistry of the work we do, and how this really is art,
It
in
really
terms
is.
of facilitating healing. And
It,
so, yeah, really beautiful.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Um, one thing I like to kind of wrap up these chats with is, if you have any type of guidance or advice that you'd like to share with the community, and it can be anything in any context, but something that, perhaps arises from your heart that you'd like to speak to, that could have helped you when you were perhaps a bit earlier on the path.
Yeah. So much. But what comes to my heart first is like, you're not alone. And um, even when we're in these really tough times in life, whether it's, going through a divorce, going through a breakup, having, loss in some capacity, we really can feel alone, and that like no one's going through or has gone through what we're going through. And that's just the stories we tell ourselves, and the thoughts. But you're not alone. And there's so many people that have these things come up. And breakups and divorces are usually a big one, where we see the childhood traumas kind of come in. So I think that's really important to let people know. They think a lot of times that a breakup, that's the reason for this pain and suffering, like this deep pain and suffering, but it's just a lot is being triggered at that time from years and years before.
Yeah.
And so to know that, you're not alone. And then I would also just encourage people to think about the little boy or little girl inside of them. So many people haven't thought about their little girl or little boy in so many years. And see if you could find a picture, see if you could think of a memory, even just picturing them like in your mind. And that's like such a good start, you know, and just knowing that they're the little you is in there, and they might be scared, they might be hiding, but the more we just notice that they're there and are aware, that they're a part of us, you know, they'll slowly kind of come closer to the surface of who we are. And the connection of your inner child being present in your day to day life with you, the wise adult, is everything. Is, to me, is the most perfect blend of living a free, authentic, purposeful life. So just think about your little one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great advice. You're not alone, and remember that little child that we all are, that innocence, that of the little child,
Yeah.
the innocence that we all share. That if we can bring it forth and make it present, it can shine away the feelings of guilt that we harbor and shame that so often are coloring reality,
Yeah.
and distorting it, creating the fear and the violence. So, yeah, beautiful. I really value the work you do, Serena, and the
Thank you.
modalities that you speak to and how you work with this approach towards healing. I think it's a pathway that will benefit many, many more people as you continue to serve. And I'm excited to be a part of this journey with you to be able to help extend you to those who need it.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you for, you know, welcoming me into your community as well. And maybe at some point in the future, we'll do some virtual work
Yes.
around some of this, and so people can kind of get a little taste and experience some of it in a
Yeah.
group setting.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think we should. We'll talk offline about that. But um, anyway, that's it for now. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for being here, and for everyone who tuned in. This will be on the partner profile, Serena, so
Oh, great.
people can watch it there too.
Okay.
But everyone can go into your profile, which is now live in the member forum, and learn more about your background and find the direct booking links and website, all your information. So
Awesome. Thank you,
okay.
Cameron. It was so good to see you.
Yeah, you too. All right. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.